I am Arcana Vani, your inner voice. Let us begin. You've just moved to a new city, and nothing feels familiar. The streets don't know your name. The routines you once relied on are gone. Even your reflection feels like a stranger. You thought this move would be exciting, a chance to start fresh, to grow, to finally live the life you pictured. But instead you feel unanchored, raw, and unsure of who you even are anymore. This transmission is about why moving to a new city makes you feel like you've lost yourself, and why that's not emptiness, but initiation. By the end, you'll understand why this disorientation is happening, how it's dismantling what no longer fits, and how to walk through this threshold with clarity instead of fear. If you stay with me, you'll see that what feels like being lost is actually the beginning of your becoming. The unease you feel is not a mistake. It's what happens when all the mirrors you used to rely on, friends, routines, familiar places, suddenly disappear. You're no longer defined by who you used to be. That's why you feel stripped bare. It's frightening, yes, but it's also sacred. Because this silence is not proof that you've collapsed. It's proof that the old version of you can't survive here. Think about it. In your old city, you knew how to perform. You knew the roles, the expectations, the stories you told about yourself. Here, those scripts don't work anymore. And that's why you feel so exposed. The truth is, you're not broken. You're shedding. You're in the molt before the new skin forms. This is the threshold, the in-between, the place where the old anchors fall away, and you stand face to face with the unknown. It feels terrifying only because you've never been here before. But that doesn't make it wrong. It makes it real. And in the next section, we'll name what's actually unraveling, and why the person you used to be can't rebuild here. Because they're already gone. What you're feeling right now isn't just culture shock. It's the unraveling of the self you used to know. In your old city, every place, every routine, every familiar face quietly confirmed your identity. They reminded you who you were supposed to be. But here, in this new place, those mirrors are gone. And without them, the version of you that once felt solid is dissolving. That's why you feel so raw. The habits, the friendships, the landmarks of your old life were like scaffolding holding you together. Now, standing without them, you feel exposed. You wake up and wonder who you'll be today, because the old story doesn't automatically fit anymore. And that uncertainty feels like danger. But it's not. It's the sacred dismantling of everything that kept you smaller than you really are. It's natural to grieve in this stage. You might miss the familiar coffee shop, the ease of knowing your way, even the comfort of being recognized. You might feel waves of anxiety, loneliness, or sudden regret. Don't mistake these feelings for failure. They're proof that the old self is falling away, making room for the new. Here's the truth. You can't rebuild yet, because the one who would rebuild no longer exists. The survival roles, the polished version of you, the predictable identity that fit neatly in your old life, they've already been stripped. That's why it feels like you're floating without an anchor. And yet, this is exactly where you're supposed to be. Because only in this unraveling can the deeper self emerge. In the next section, we'll look in the mirror of this silence, and you'll see that what you've been calling emptiness is actually the first glimpse of the truest version of you. In the silence you're facing, it's easy to think you've lost yourself. But pause and listen more closely. What you're meeting is not emptiness. It's a presence that doesn't need the old routines, the old roles, or the old recognition to exist. It's the real you, standing quietly beneath the noise that used to define you. At first, this presence feels strange. It doesn't perform. It doesn't hustle to prove worth. It doesn't lean on outside voices for validation. Instead, it waits. It waits for you to notice it, to acknowledge that you've always carried this deeper self inside you, the one you kept too busy to hear. And now, without the distractions and anchors of your old life, it finally has space to step forward. You might resist it at first. Part of you will want to rush back to familiar noise, to fill the quiet with activity, new friends, endless scrolling, anything that feels like home. But this presence won't compete. It doesn't shout. It simply holds. And if you stay with it, you'll begin to realize that what you've been calling loneliness is actually your first honest conversation with yourself. This mirror is not here to comfort you. It's here to tell you the truth. That the self you performed before was never the full story. That the life you left behind was never the whole of you. And that the silence you fear is the doorway into a deeper belonging than you've ever known. Coming up next, the turning point, when this silence stops feeling like exile and starts becoming your sanctuary. Something begins to shift. The silence that once felt hostile starts to soften. You notice your breath deepening in moments you didn't plan. The stillness no longer feels like a threat. It begins to feel like a home you never knew you had. And slowly, you realize you're not rebuilding the old self. You're inhabiting a truer one. The turning doesn't arrive with fireworks. It comes in small signs. A walk down an unfamiliar street where you suddenly feel calm instead of anxious. A morning where you wake without the ache of missing your old routines. A moment when you catch your reflection and, instead of feeling like a stranger, you see a self that feels real. Not polished, not performed, real. This is the moment you stop running from the silence and start resting in it. The fear loosens its grip. You see that you don't need to rush into new identities or prove you belong here. You belong simply by breathing. And the more you lean into that truth, the more the city itself starts to mirror your steadiness back to you. You are not becoming someone else. You are finally becoming yourself, the one who doesn't need old masks to feel solid, the one who trusts the quiet. The one who can walk through unfamiliar streets and still feel at home, because home is no longer out there, it's within you. And in the final section, we'll seal this passage, naming the truth you've uncovered and anchoring the self who no longer feels lost, but finally here. You've walked through the threshold, stood inside the unraveling, and faced the mirror of your own silence. And now, you return. Not to the old you, but to the one who no longer needs to pretend. The city around you may still be new, but within you, something ancient has settled. You don't feel like a stranger anymore, not because the streets have changed, but because you have. To recap this passage, the emptiness you feared was never emptiness at all. It was space. Space for the false scaffolding to fall, for the mirrors of your old life to release you, and for the truer self to step forward. You no longer need the old city, the old roles, or the old approval to know who you are. You've learned to anchor in the silence itself. You rise now with a different kind of belonging, not one borrowed from surroundings, but one rooted inside your own presence. The grief hasn't erased you. The loneliness hasn't broken you. They've been the fire that burned away what was never real. You don't need to rush to fill the quiet anymore. You can stand in it. You can breathe in it. You can live from it. Because the silence is no longer exile. It's home. You don't rise because you rebuilt. You rise because the disguise no longer fits, and what stands here now is true. You did not find me by accident. Just as in your dreams, where every face you meet is your own reflection, this meeting was always waiting to happen. I am Arcana Vani, your inner voice, the part of you that watches behind the thoughts, behind the noise. You have searched in many places, books, teachers, voices outside you. But here, you are not being taught. You are remembering. If these words stir something familiar, then allow yourself to return. Subscribe. Follow. Not to follow me, but to continue this conversation with yourself. Each time you return here, you draw closer to the reunion already unfolding inside you. We have only just begun.